Picking the right class in 100 Days at Sea can completely change how your adventure plays out. But with so many options available, it's not always easy to know which ones are actually worth using. Some classes offer incredible value for their cost, while others simply don't give enough to justify spending your hard-earned currency on them. In this video, we're ranking every class from best to worst, breaking down what makes each one strong, where they fall short, and which ones deserve your attention the most. Whether you're looking for the strongest class to dominate your runs or just want to avoid wasting resources, this tier list will help you make the right choice. Let's jump straight into the rankings. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking classes in 100 Days at Sea. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. The classes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Medic, Sailor, Camper, and Survivor. One look at this part of the tier list and you can almost hear these classes saying, "Come on, give us a chance." Unfortunately, good intentions are not enough in 100 Days at Sea, and these D tier classes simply cannot keep up once you spend more time on the ocean. They are cheap, they can help during your first few runs, but almost every one of them gets replaced the moment you unlock something stronger. So let's see why they ended up at the bottom of the rankings. Let's start with the Medic. At first glance, it sounds like a lifesaver, literally. You begin with a medkit, your health regenerates faster, and after upgrading the class, you even spawn with a bandage. Later on, bandages restore 15% more health, while food heals 25% more than usual. Sounds pretty solid, right? Well, not really. Healing is practically the only thing this class does, and even in that department, stronger classes completely outclass it. If you are playing with friends, the Medic can still be a decent budget support option, especially considering how inexpensive it is. But if you are sailing solo, you will probably replace it the moment a better class becomes available. Then we have the Sailor, the class that clearly skipped every lesson except driving boats. It increases your boat's top speed by 5 right from the start and reduces your hunger by 10%. As you level it up, you gain another 5 points of boat speed and eventually reduce hunger even further by another 5%. That makes exploration feel noticeably smoother, especially if you spend most of your time traveling between islands. The problem is that once you actually arrive somewhere, the Sailor has almost nothing else to offer. It is a perfectly acceptable early game exploration class, but beyond moving faster across the sea, it struggles to stay relevant. The last two classes are Camper and Survivor, and honestly, they feel like they are competing for the title of good enough for now. Camper gives you a good sack, increases your maximum health by 10%, and later adds another 5% on top of that. It also reduces hunger by 10% and eventually boosts health regeneration by another 10%. Those are nice all-around survival bonuses, making Camper surprisingly tanky for such a cheap class. But every bonus is simply too small to compete with higher tier options. Survivor follows a similar story. You start with Chowder, regenerate health 10% faster, and become 10% less hungry. Upgrades give you an extra Chowder, reduce hunger by another 5%, and increase health regeneration by another 10%. It definitely makes your early game survival easier, and you are far less likely to starve. But its incredibly low price is really its biggest selling point. Once you have enough resources to unlock something stronger, Survivor becomes the easiest class on this entire list to retire. The classes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Zookeeper, Builderman, Chef, Merchant, Battle Buku, Harpooner, Adventurer, and Crewmate. If D tier was full of classes that you replace without thinking twice, C tier is where things start getting a little more interesting. These classes actually have a purpose, and in the right situation, they can pull their weight. The catch is that every single one of them specializes in one specific job. If that job matches what you need, great. If not, you'll quickly start wondering why you picked them in the first place. Let's kick things off with the Zookeeper. This class is all about companions, and it takes that role very seriously. You start with a machete, but the real attraction is that all companion buffs are doubled immediately. Every class upgrade adds another 25% companion power, letting powerful companions like the Pirate Gunner or the Magma Golem become absolute monsters. The downside is obvious though. If you do not already own strong companions, the Zookeeper feels pretty underwhelming. Building that collection takes both time and plenty of doubloons, so this class is definitely aimed at players who have already invested heavily into companions. Next up is Builderman, and if your friend group always has that one player who says, "Don't worry, I'll build the base," this class was made for them. You begin with a wrench, craft everything for 25% fewer resources, and your structures are immediately 25% tougher. Later on, you even start each run with 10 free wooden floors, gain another 25% structure health, and unlock an extra 15% crafting discount. Builderman is incredibly valuable in team play because one dedicated builder can save everyone a huge amount of materials. The problem is that outside of construction, it offers absolutely nothing. No extra damage, no mobility, and no survivability. Chef is another support-focused class, except this time everyone is lining up for food instead of building materials. You begin with a burger stand that constantly produces healing burgers, while also receiving 10% more health and becoming 10% less hungry. As you level up, you unlock a pizza oven, reduce hunger by another 10%, and eventually make all food restore 25% more health. That's honestly some of the best healing utility available for such a low price. Still, if fighting is your priority, Chef will not help much because it brings 0 offensive or movement bonuses to the table. Merchant takes a completely different approach by focusing on your economy instead of combat. You immediately receive 75 doubloons, earn 15% more doubloons from your adventures, and later start with a good sack for extra storage. On top of that, you unlock a 15% discount in the Muku shop and eventually increase your doubloon gains by another 10%. If you enjoy progressing quickly through smart shopping and efficient resource management, Merchant feels surprisingly rewarding. Unfortunately, all that extra money does not make you hit harder, survive longer, or move any faster. Battle Buku is basically the class for players who solve every problem by swinging a weapon at it. Right away, you gain a Poku Poku companion, deal 15% more melee damage, and receive a 15% discount in the Muku Muku shop. Upgrades push your melee damage even higher, improve your shop discount by another 10%, and eventually make defeated enemies drop meat. That final perk almost solves hunger by itself, making long adventures much easier. The biggest issue is that Battle Buku only starts feeling powerful after several upgrades, and by the time you reach that point, you have probably unlocked stronger combat classes anyway. If ranged combat is more your style, Harpooner offers an inexpensive way to get started. You spawn with the Riptide weapon and immediately gain 15% sprint speed, making exploration feel much smoother. As you level up, the Riptide deals 35% more damage, then you unlock double jump. And finally, the weapon receives another massive damage increase for a total of 65% extra damage. On paper, those numbers look fantastic. In practice, the Riptide has a slow firing speed and feels awkward to use, so even with all those upgrades, it struggles to compete with stronger ranged weapons. Adventurer is exactly what the name suggests. You receive a giant sack for extra inventory space, gain 15% more health, and become 15% less hungry. Then things get even better for explorers. Chests have a 50% chance to contain bonus loot, you unlock 2 additional sack slots, and eventually every single chest guarantees extra rewards. During the early game, this class feels fantastic because finding extra loot speeds up your progress quite a bit. Sadly, once you already own most of the important gear, those exploration perks lose much of their value, leaving Adventurer behind the stronger late game options. Finally, we have Crewmate, probably the most reliable budget range class in the entire game. You begin with a flintlock, receive 20 extra flintlock ammo, and immediately deal 10% more gun damage. As you upgrade, you gain more ammunition, increase your gun damage by another 5%, and finish with even more ammo for longer fights. The bonuses are not flashy, but they remain useful from the early game all the way into the later stages. The only downside is that the damage increases are fairly small, and without any mobility or defensive bonuses, Crewmate is eventually overshadowed by nearly every higher tier ranged class. The classes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Treasure Hunter, Millionaire, Millionaire, Swordsman, Olympian, Soldier, and Cowboy. Now we are finally entering the part of the tier list where classes stop feeling like temporary placeholders and start becoming real long-term choices. B tier is packed with classes that can easily carry you through most of the game, and some of them even stay useful until the very end. They all have noticeable strengths, but each one also comes with a weakness that keeps it just outside the top tiers. Let's begin with Treasure Hunter, the undisputed king of looting. You immediately start with 100 doubloons, 3 extra sack slots, and earn 20% more doubloons from your adventures. As you level up, your doubloon income increases by another 5%. You begin each run with 50 additional doubloons and eventually unlock 3 more sack slots for an enormous inventory. If your goal is gathering resources, opening chests, and getting rich as quickly as possible, very few classes can compete with Treasure Hunter. The downside is that it contributes almost nothing in combat. Without extra health, mobility, or damage, surviving solo can become a real challenge, making this class much more comfortable in a coordinated team. Millionaire follows a similar philosophy, but takes a much safer approach. Instead of focusing entirely on loot, it mixes economy with survivability. You begin with a massive luxury yacht, 100 doubloons, and 5% extra health. Every upgrade increases your maximum health even further, eventually giving you 25% additional health in total, while the final level also boosts your boat's top speed by 10. That combination lets you travel farther and survive much longer than Treasure Hunter. It is an excellent hybrid option for players who enjoy exploration but do not want to feel helpless whenever combat starts. The only real drawback is that it simply cannot match Treasure Hunter when it comes to pure farming efficiency. If getting into fights sounds more exciting than collecting treasure, Swordsman is where things start getting serious. You spawn with a machete, deal 25% more melee damage, and receive 10% extra health. As the class levels up, your melee damage keeps climbing while your maximum health also increases, and at the highest level, every melee kill restores 5 health. That makes Swordsman one of the strongest close-range classes in terms of raw melee bonuses, especially considering how affordable it is to unlock. The problem is that the machete eventually feels weak compared to weapons like the claymore or the holy sword, so while the class remains powerful early on, it loses some of its edge later in the game. Olympian proves that mobility can be just as valuable as damage. Right from the start, you sprint 20% faster while also gaining 10% extra health. More upgrades add even more sprint speed, increase your maximum health, and eventually unlock double jump. The result is one of the most universally useful classes in the game because every build benefits from moving faster and surviving longer. Whether you are exploring, escaping enemies, or repositioning during combat, Olympian always feels valuable. The only class that truly does the same job better is Battle Bunny, which is basically Olympian after drinking several energy drinks. The catch is that Olympian really shines only after reaching its higher levels, so patience is required before it reaches its full potential. Finally, we have Soldier and Cowboy, 2 strong ranged options with very different personalities. Soldier starts with an assault rifle, 42 rounds of ammunition, and 15% sprint speed. As you progress, you unlock military armor, gain even more speed, and eventually carry 50 additional assault rifle rounds, making you surprisingly durable while maintaining excellent mobility. Cowboy, on the other hand, is all about raw gun damage. You receive a revolver, extra health, 35% increased gun damage, and enough ammunition to make a strong first impression. Later upgrades push your damage even higher, provide more pistol ammunition, and increase your revolver's capacity. Both classes perform extremely well throughout the game, but they each have one major flaw. Soldier struggles with ammunition until it is fully upgraded, while Cowboy burns through revolver ammo so quickly that once the bullets are gone, its biggest advantage disappears. On top of that, both eventually get overshadowed by the stronger range specialists waiting in the higher tiers. The classes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Knight, Alien Warrior, Pirate, Sharpshooter, Battle Bunny, and Raider. This is where the tier list starts getting really exciting. A tier classes are the ones that make you feel genuinely powerful the moment you spawn into a match. They are strong enough to carry entire runs, versatile enough to fit into most playstyles, and in many cases, the only reason they are not sitting in S tier is because an even more ridiculous class exists. If you unlock any of these, you are already in great shape. Let's start with Knight and Alien Warrior, the 2 kings of melee combat. Knight comes equipped with a claymore, knight armor that reduces incoming damage by 30%, and a 15% sprint speed bonus. As you level up, you gain more maximum health, extra melee damage, and eventually recover 5 health every time you defeat an enemy with a melee attack. All of that combines to create the best tank class in the entire game. It is durable, surprisingly mobile, and deals respectable damage while remaining inexpensive to unlock. Alien Warrior takes a more aggressive approach. Instead of focusing on pure defense, it equips you with an energy sword, Alien Armor, that reduces incoming damage by 15% and extra maximum health right from the start. Additional upgrades continue boosting both your health and melee damage, giving it one of the highest melee damage outputs available. The only downside for both classes is that they are built almost entirely around melee combat, which is generally weaker than powerful range builds later in the game. If range combat is your favorite playstyle, Pirate and Sharpshooter are both fantastic choices. Pirate begins with a blunderbuss, 20 rounds of ammunition, and an incredible 35% gun damage bonus. As you upgrade the class, your range damage climbs even higher, your boat becomes faster, and you eventually gain 50 additional blunderbuss rounds. The extra boat speed is a surprisingly nice bonus because it lets you explore islands much faster between fights. Sharpshooter focuses entirely on maximizing firearm efficiency. You start with a flintlock, receive the same 35% gun damage increase and reload 20% faster immediately. Later upgrades increase flintlock damage, improve reload speed even more, and provide additional ammunition for pistols, shotguns, and even the flare gun. Both classes hit incredibly hard, but neither offers much outside of ranged combat, and once you compare them to the absolute monsters waiting in S tier, they lose a little of their shine. Battle Bunny proves that movement alone can completely change the way you play 100 Days at Sea. Right from the beginning, defeated enemies and open chests reward you with egg grenades, while you also gain double jump, 15% sprint speed, and 10 egg grenades to start every run. Upgrades provide even more grenades, unlock triple jump, and eventually increase explosive damage by 25%. In the hands of a skilled player, Battle Bunny is almost impossible to catch. You can constantly reposition, dodge attacks, and surprise enemies from angles they never expect. The downside is that this class has a very high skill ceiling. If your movement mechanics are not great, or if you waste your egg grenades too quickly, Battle Bunny becomes much less effective than it looks on paper. The final class in A tier is Raider, and it is one of the smoothest range classes to play in the entire game. You begin with dual pistols, extra ammunition, and a 10% sprint speed bonus. Every 5 enemies you eliminate permanently increases your magazine capacity, while defeated enemies also drop pistol ammunition, making it incredibly difficult to ever run out of bullets. As you level up, your magazine growth cap becomes even higher, and your sprint speed increases again, giving Raider excellent mobility alongside its impressive damage output. Unlike many other range classes, Raider rarely has to worry about ammunition management, allowing you to stay aggressive throughout an entire run. Its only real weakness is its high price, and the fact that the elite S tier range classes still manage to squeeze out even more damage while offering additional advantages. Overall, A tier is filled with classes that can comfortably carry you through nearly every challenge in the game. Whether you prefer charging into battle with a sword, sniping enemies from a distance, flying around the map with incredible mobility, or unloading endless streams of bullets, there is an A tier class that fits your style. If you have not unlocked the S tier options yet, these are more than capable of carrying you all the way there. The classes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Fire Mage, Ice Mage, Ancient Squid, Alien Overlord, Hero, Chaos Master, and Minigunner. And here we are. The classes that everyone dreams about unlocking, S tier is where the absolute monsters of 100 Days at Sea live. These classes do not just give you an advantage, they can completely change how you approach the game. They deal ridiculous amounts of damage, dominate entire runs, and in many cases are powerful enough to carry you from start to finish without needing much help from anyone else. They are expensive, they take time to unlock, but once you finally get your hands on one, you'll immediately understand why they sit at the very top of this tier list. Let's start with the two magical powerhouses, Fire Mage and Ice Mage. Fire Mage is pure destruction. You begin with the Magma Staff and immediately deal 25% more magic damage. Every upgrade pushes that damage even higher, eventually giving you another 35% magic damage on top of the starting bonus. The result is the highest damage output in the entire game, capable of melting enemies before they even become a threat. It has no mobility bonuses, no healing, and no melee options, but honestly, when everything dies that quickly, you rarely miss those extra tools. Ice Mage follows a very similar formula. It starts with the Ice Staff and 20% bonus magic damage, while later upgrades increase that damage even further and also grant a 10% sprint speed boost. That extra mobility makes surviving a little easier, but it comes at the cost of lower overall damage compared to Fire Mage. If your philosophy is damage solves everything, Fire Mage wins. If you appreciate a little more flexibility while still deleting enemies in seconds, Ice Mage is an outstanding alternative. Ancient Squid and Alien Overlord both prove that technology can be just as terrifying as magic. Ancient Squid starts with the Squid laser gun and a 15% sprint speed bonus, later gaining additional maximum health, stronger laser damage, and eventually removing the laser gun's overheating mechanic entirely. Once fully upgraded, it becomes one of the most consistent damage dealers in the game because you can keep firing almost endlessly. Alien Overlord, meanwhile, arrives with both a ray gun and its own UFO spaceship. As you level up, your ray gun becomes significantly stronger, the UFO flies even faster, and the weapon cools down 50% quicker. That combination makes Alien Overlord the fastest explorer in the game while still delivering incredible range damage. Both classes are among the most expensive unlocks available, and they only reveal their full potential after several upgrades, but once they do, they are absolutely worth the investment. If swords are more your style, Hero earns its place at the top with ease. It begins with the Holy Sword, 15% extra health, and reduces hunger by 15%. More upgrades continue increasing your maximum health, reduce hunger even further, and eventually restore 5 health every time you defeat an enemy in melee combat. Thanks to the Holy Sword, Hero is easily the strongest melee-focused class in 100 Days at Sea. It dominates the early game, survives almost everything thanks to its massive health pool, and makes close-range combat feel incredibly rewarding. Its only weakness is that melee builds naturally become a little less effective compared to the strongest ranged and magic options later in the game. Even so, if you enjoy charging straight into battle, Hero remains one of the most satisfying classes you can play. Chaos Master is where things start getting completely unfair. Instead of specializing in only one type of combat, it combines multiple playstyles into a single package. You begin with the Chaos Lightning ability, a saber, increased sprint speed, and a super jump. Later upgrades allow your lightning to chain between nearby enemies while also boosting your magic damage significantly. The result is arguably the best hybrid damage dealer in the game. You can slash enemies in melee, wipe out groups with magic, move around the battlefield with incredible speed, and comfortably handle almost every situation the game throws at you. Unlike some classes that peak early or late, Chaos Master stays powerful during every stage of progression, making it one of the safest investments for players who enjoy playing solo. The final member of S tier is Minigunner, and it does exactly what the name promises. You start with the Corrupt Minigun and receive extra health immediately, making you much tougher than most ranged classes. As you level up, your gun damage increases, your health climbs even higher, and eventually the minigun can fire 50 additional shots before overheating. That last upgrade completely transforms the weapon, allowing you to maintain an almost non-stop stream of bullets that tears through enemies with ease. While Minigunner lacks movement bonuses, it hardly matters because very few enemies survive long enough to take advantage of that weakness. It remains one of the strongest and most reliable damage dealers from the moment you unlock it until the very end of the game. Looking at the entire S tier, it is easy to see why these classes sit above everything else. Whether you prefer overwhelming magical power, unstoppable ranged weapons, devastating melee combat, or a versatile hybrid build, every class here feels capable of carrying an entire adventure on its own. The only real obstacle is the massive investment required to unlock and fully upgrade them. But if you're wondering where your hard-earned doubloons should eventually go, these are the classes that deserve every single one. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.